Hello, and welcome back to our third season of our podcast, Invisible Wound. This limited 5-episode podcast series is part of our larger project called Hakara, Facing Transgenerational Trauma. This project was initiated by Ajna Germany and funded by the German Foreign Office. Ajna Germany supports the Israeli NGO Ajna that was established in 1987 by a group of Holocaust survivors and devoted mental health professionals. Ajna Israel offers psychosocial support for Holocaust survivors and their families in 15 centers across the country. My name is Sharon Reiber-Kahn. I'm a Berlin-based filmmaker and third generation of survivors of the Shoah. This is the perspective I'll be speaking from. For this season, we took a new approach by talking with experts and activists and taking the body as the starting point of our exploration. We asked what trauma does to our bodies and how does it manifest itself over generations. Dear listeners, this podcast contains stories of experiences that may disturb you. It deals with topics such as war, sexual violence, and torture. Please take care of yourself and do not listen to this episode if you do not feel in the condition to listen to those stories. Well, first of all, welcome to the podcast Invisible Wound. And what we do is that we always ask our guests to introduce themselves.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Ajna Jusić. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I live in capital city Sarajevo. I'm feminist activist. By profession, I'm nurse and psychologist. And in this moment, I'm the president and the member of the Association Forgotten Children of War. Very specific association, very proud on that one. It's like my baby. We work with the children who are born as a result of the conflict-related sexual violence, wartime rape here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Also, we gather children whose father are UN peacekeepers who were on missions here in Bosnia during the war, and we work with the children whose father are members of the humanitarian organizations and children who are born from the forced marriages.
How did you become a political activist?
Yeah, I didn't know that I'm a political activist, so I think that father's name make me a political activist. I run away from prejudice, discrimination, because when it comes to Bosnia, I can explain father's name is priority name. And that's something that I didn't have in my life. I don't have it still because I was born after rape. And I remember the moment when I came to university here in Sarajevo, and I was like, okay, this is the capital city. Now it's time for new life. And the first question that I got here in Sarajevo was father's name. What is your father's name? Because it's like identification item in Bosnia. And that was, I think, crucial moment when I decided that I will fight for my mother's name, for myself, and that I will find a way how to articulate my story and make some space for myself in this society, because I really love Bosnia, and I don't want to leave the country, and I really fight. That's now my ultimate aim, to fight to stay here, because I like, travel. I like to meet other cultures, people, traditions, but still I really have this strong commitment to the country, and I'm all Bosnia, all Bosnia and Herzegovina, so yeah.
Maybe for those of us who don't understand why the father's name is such an importance and how it works.
Yeah, it's like Bosnia and Herzegovina, we are a very traditional country. Everything is about father, and the role of the mother, role of the women in our society is not pretty good. And when it comes, for example, to official documentation in our country, so it can be degree, it can be some papers that you got in municipality, paper from hospital, whatever. So father's name is always used as identification item. That's something how you are recognized in society. And that's, to be honest, that's that's brutal how this social norm is, so strong and active in all parts of our lives. Because, for example, after the war here in Bosnia, all males who were affected during the war or children whose father were killed during the war, they got support, they got, some kind of priority in their lives. But when it comes to female line and sacrifice and victims and survivors, it's not sold. And so everything is by male line, men, they write the laws, they lead the country. And I think that in case of the children born out of war, for us it was devastating. And it was, I think, the hardest thing, because you don't understand why is that, especially if you don't have that figure in your life, and then you have 3 million people who just ask that one question. They don't even want to know who am I and what I like, what are my talents, characteristics, whatever. They just want to know that name. And unfortunately, that was the beginning of my story. But I changed that practice in our country, so they don't ask father's name anymore. I did it, and I feel very, very proud. So it was a big win. For not just for me, it's big win for females, for women, for mothers, for single parents, families in our country.
That's pretty impressive. And just to sort of dive deeper into our topic, which is collective transgenerational trauma. So if I ask you how you've been affected by it, then there are probably very many different layers of that answers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I can start from this, the closest. I was 15. Before that, I had strange childhood. I was so protected by my mother and my stepfather. And as a child, I didn't understand why I need so much protection. But also, I understand that I don't have a place in school. I don't have much place on village where I lived, many villages where I lived.
Because of the father's name, right?
Yes, it is because of the father's name, and also it is because my mother was a single mother. She was 22 when she gave birth to me. So, single woman, she has a child, and that was enough to call her with the bad names. And also after the war, she worked in a restaurant, and really specific mix of the situation that society didn't support, didn't accept. So no one asked my mother, where you get that child? I think that for society it was only that picture, mother and child without male figure, without husband, father, whatever. And primary connection with the transgenerational trauma is with my origin and the moment when I found out the father's name, finally. Because I was trying to find that name just to have that answer when someone asked me, and I was thinking, okay, that's it. I will find the name and I'm done with this. But unfortunately, because my mother survived wartime rape, I was destroyed to find out this story, but still happy to know my story. It's impressive identity, I would say. So yeah, I found that she survived the rape, and I had this strange adventure because I find that alone. I didn't ask my mother about that, and I had opportunity to read 8 pages of very detailed description of rape that she survived. And in that moment I got clear image why she had all this cigarette scar from on her body, and I was like, okay, this is very bad. And the last word was like, and after that Aina was born. I didn't know what is rape. That's the point. I'm not angry on this country. This country suffer a lot, but if I want describe that one moment when I really hate this country, that is because no one explained me what is rape, because we have 20 to 50,000 survivors of rape, and I was 15 and I didn't even know that happened in our country, and what is that, how painful is that. And I was so confused because my mother, she is my role model every day, every second. And in that moment I was like, if she was silent on this topic 15 years, that's the way. I will just stay silent because, I think that my mother, she knows the best and I will listen. So that's the way.
Do you remember what went on in your body when you read those pages? Do you remember your sensations, physically speaking?
I don't know. I know just that moment that I was shaking, and because I used these few minutes where I was home alone, because in Bosnia there is this, Adidas box from the shoes or Nike box. Every mother, every woman keep those boxes, and they keep the most important papers, and it's somewhere in the house, and you have that box all your life. Now in my apartment I have the same one, Adidas one, and that true was all my life there, and I get it and I read it, and I don't know, before I described that as a black hole because it was shocking, and it was mix of, you find out and you don't know what is that, and you know that you were not allowed to find out. And the first thought was like, am I a reminder? Am I trigger? And then I just have all these puzzles when you're trying to understand. I had 15 years of my life in front of me to understand why she doesn't like my eyes, why she beating me sometimes, all this. And I think it's anxiety maybe in that moment, but confusion.
What do you think led you that day to go look and, do the thing that you're not supposed to be doing?
Okay, introduction of the story is that I was born in the safe house called Medica Zenica during the war in Bosnia. My mother described that as a safe house for everyone during the war, not for the rape victims. And I moved together with my mother in her home city. I was there for a few years in primary school, and my mother decided to, together with my stepfather, to save me from that small community in Zavidovići, because rapists, they are around in that city, because she survived there, and they are around. Those families of them, they are around. I didn't fit in this society, and she decided for me that I need to go back to Zenica because it's bigger city, maybe I can find my space. But I think second week of my high school, the professor in front of the whole class, he asked me about father's name in the book of the students. It was Ajna Jusić. And he was like, what is your father's name? And I was like, I can offer you my stepfather's name. And he asked me, do your mother? Like, no, who is your father? And everyone started laughing. She did not deserve this laughing moment from everyone, because I know she's good. She's a good person. She is not that person that you're trying to describe. And then I decided, okay, this is the moment I need to stop with this, because I just started new life again, and I need to finish this. And it was basically my motivation to start digging. And I just remember, okay, I don't need digging. There is a box. And because it's tradition, it's always about box. I took a train from Zenica to Zavidovići city, visit my parents on this village where we lived, and they were outside doing something, my agriculture and things, and I was like, okay, this is the moment. And yeah.
What did you do next? So you said that was the one time where you were really angry, right? At the country, yes, for not knowing what rape is. And then you said you kept silent. So
I kept silent for 9 months, whole 9 months. In Zenica, I was in dormitory for high school students. I lived there, and I was silent. And I think in that 9 months, I tried to destroy my body, because I tried weed, I tried alcohol, I start partying, I make a mess in school. I was 15, and it was pretty much devastating for me to not have anyone to talk about it. Children whose father were damaged or killed during the war, when you go to school first day, they ask you who father is killed or damaged during the war, and you raise your hand and you got priority, you got some scholarship and those things. And I was like, there is no space that I raise my hand and tell, okay, I have this identity. And during that period, I really was I was lost. I made so many problems. And in one moment, I got this letter in my dormitory room from school that I will be kicked off from the school because I missed too many classes. I didn't want to go back in that school because I didn't feel comfortable with the class and with the people, because it's not just laughing in one class, it's spreading the information. It was easy. And in one moment, whole school knows that I don't know father's name, and that was the basic name. And when I got that letter, my mother, she was informed about everything. And I think that she knew that I know, because I was pretty much good child. I was not, problematic child at all. And then I had this kind of system support from school, from dormitory, psychologist. But I remember that moment I was walking with this professor from my school. We were on the bridge, and she walked me to psychologist in another part of the city. So I need to go to psychologist. They need to check, am I okay? What is going on? And I just look at her, and I was like, you definitely don't know what is going on. And, I didn't find understanding. I was a child, and it was too much for me in that moment, because I saw this empty eye in every person because they don't understand. And first time when I articulate that to director of the school, medical school, he was so lost, and he just signed in student book you will not be kicked out from the school. You stay, you're safe, but just go to psychologist. We need to find a way how to solve this. And in that moment, I think that I just realized that I'm not the only one who were lost in that question, in that story. I realized this whole state is lost in this story. I knew that I am a rare case in this, and that there is no anyone who know how to support me. I'm still very grateful for, it was good effort from everyone, but the crucial moment when I was at psychologist and when my mother came in the room, and it was the first time that we confront to this story. And for me in that moment, I was so scared because I was expecting that she will tell me yeah, you are reminder, I don't want to be your mother anymore. And when she came in, she was in tears, she was shaking, and she just tell me please don't be ashamed of your mother. It was not my choice. It was not my choice. I didn't know how to tell you, just don't leave me because of that. And I was like, oh my God, thanks God. We are safe. We are staying in this form of family. And I think it was very important moment. And I told her I don't want to be a reminder. And then she explained me that, I'm the reason why she continued with her fight with society. And the main reason why she kept me is because I am a girl. I was kind of motivation for her to have a fight in prevention of sexual violence and everything that she achieved and still doing.
What does she do?
She has some health problems in this moment. Unfortunately, also the consequences of rape, because in this country, I know that we should talk about mental health after the rape, but also as a psychologist, and nurse and normal person, I researched the topic, and I know that rape have some physical consequences on body, and now is the period, that affect my mother's health. But before that, she was one of the first survivors who spoke out. She was the part and still is the part of many associations, many informal group of survivors. She trying to explain the perspective of this kind of consequences, having the child after that. She fought all her life for system support for me, for my education, and I think that for last few years, when we started with this association, she decided to give her story to the youth, to speak with them about, not specifically about rape and that, but specifically about consequences. She tried to explain them, that still in Bosnia we don't have clear history book what happened, but no matter which ethnic group you are, no one is happy after the war in Bosnia. And she really tried to explain to youth what are the prejudices, because she could explain her story, but no one asked, and everyone just rejected her because she is a single mother and everything. And it's not just about society, it's also about family. And she really put her efforts to explain how this kind of crime and how this attitude from society can destroy whole families, whole life, and how it's hard to rebuild without support. But I think that she got support from other survivors. They have this special group, special energy, special understanding. Now we have same groups with the children. Sometimes we are mixed, but still, there is always a wall between mothers and child, between survivors and children born out of rape.
Sorry, what do you mean by wall?
There is a trust, there is support, there is a love between children born out of war and survivors, because our association now, we gather those mixed groups, but I don't think that there is any child born out of rape that knows full story. You got fragments, you got enough to understand. When it comes to the war, I just know that she survived the rape, and I know those details because I found out by myself. But I don't know what she survived more, because it's war, it's not. Maybe she lost her friend, maybe she lost something, where she was during all this, because war was 4 and 5 years in Bosnia. I just, 2 days of her life. After I found out, she didn't even talk more, because I read the worst part, and she was like, yeah, that's it that you need to know. And I remember when I was a child, and when we were in her hometown, in town where she survived the rape, and when we walked through the city, walking around, and I know those moments when she just covered my face. Just maybe 2 years ago, I was like, oh my God, I know, now I understand that she covered my face because they are all around. Especially because my mother survived the rape from the people who were with her in high school. They were friends before the war. She knows all rapists. She shares school and class with them. And then I realized that it's hell of the fight. They don't give us more informations.
Who is they?
Mothers.
The mothers. Mm-hmm.
Survivors. They give you some pieces, enough that you form some picture, but never full picture. We had this exhibition called Speaking Out, and it was something similar to your work. It was based on invisible wounds. And we have 12 survivors who were the part of the body mapping workshops, and they had big drawings like their body, and they draw everything what happened before the war, during the war, and after the war. In my mother's part of the legs, when I saw that picture, I learned that she was traditional dancer before the war, that she do some dance before, and that she had another problems with family, with the society, because we have her brother is he cannot speak, and she felt some discrimination because of that before. But I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know. And she was the best student in her class in the primary school, and that was like, okay, I was so grateful to see that exhibition.
So is it that you have tried multiple times to talk to her and she just says you know enough? Or is it that you feel guilty, worried, about asking her because it revives the wound inside of her? She said to you, you've read the worst part, right? And that's all you need to know. I mean, that's something it sort of puts very stark boundaries, right?
And that's boundary. Sometimes I'm scared to ask. I don't want to hurt her, but I tried few times, and because I wanted to know what she also survived during the war, but also I was so interesting what happening in Safe House Medica. How was that life? Where did you go after? But unfortunately, she was not full ready to speak about it. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I prepared myself and I asked her about her life when she come back to hometown after the war, because I needed to know how family treated her, because I needed to know how family will treat me, because most of them, they didn't know who am I and who my father is. And then she explained me, each family member. Some of them, they were supportive, some of them were like completely not interested. And I was sad because her two brothers, who were the biggest support for her, and unfortunately they died when I was a child, so I missed that, because I didn't get that support from the family, that kind. So to be honest, now maybe it is transgenerational because I have my boundaries too. It's hard to explain this. She doesn't know how is be born out of rape, and I see that we built it, so she don't ask me those questions. Yeah, sorry.
Please don't apologize, and thank you for being vulnerable. So, in a way, children always feel their parents' pain in their bodies, and then you have your own story on top of that, right?
Yeah.
We all carry that within us. But in your case, it is so extreme, right?
I don't know how it's to survive that event, that rape, but still, I'm trying not to, but in any moment when you think about that event, your body reacts, and generally I think that as a woman, when you think about rape, you have some kind of reaction, but when you think about that in terms of your mother, it's really, really, really strange, really affecting your body.
Tell me how it's affecting you.
It's anxiety, it's pain. And in one moment it's, you feel about that, how she survived that, how she felt that. And in other moment you just think about that you are born from that. Your body is built from that. I really love my body. I love myself, but it's like, body that is, I don't know, everyone's. It was my responsibility to tell this story. It's not like I was obligated to give my body to society. And it was like, okay, but society do whatever they want. They supported me, but still, I share body with society. I share body with you now, and I'm happy because of that. Because maybe there is other children out there, but still, it's not anymore my body. And that's something that I think that my mother also maybe felt. The biggest difference is that I decided to give my body, and I'm happy because of that. I cannot explain, because we really changed the world with the law, with the stories, and now it's important topic, and now more children have a space to talk about it. Still, it's sometimes is really strange, and my mother, she didn't want to give her body to war, to society, to anything. But I just hope so that my mother also feel now that at least we normalized our bodies in society, because we are not the only one with this story, and our body is not so different from others.
When you say that, it really transmits how much discrimination is a huge part of this story. One part is actually the event and the trauma that comes from the event that affects you and that affects your mom. And then the next thing is society, that discrimination, which is based on tradition and patriarchy, as you were saying before, right?
Yeah, they are completely two different things. And from this body perspective, and when it comes to discrimination, you are, when I was in the primary school, children discriminated me, and I had those problems, but I was not discriminated because I am born out of rape, because they didn't know that I am born out of rape. I was discriminated because my mother is a single mother, and she was waitress, and she was this, and she was that. Also, in general, when it comes to children born out of rape, we were targeted as children of enemies. During the war, rape was used as a weapon of war. It was a strategy. And next level of that is children born out of rape making this other ethnic generations in country. And when you live in the country who still face with the same ethnic problems, it's obvious no one wants to talk about you.
Explain that to me just so that people understand.
Ethnic country, we have 3 different ethnic groups. It's Muslim, Serbian, and Croatian, and we also have Jewish people and Roma people, but these 3 ethnic groups, they are too strong. We don't even talk about other groups, and still we have unclear past, unclear war facts. We don't have justice system who work on the war crimes. So many war criminals are free, and in one part of Bosnia you have one history book, Muslim book, Serbian book, Croatian book. We are theater country because you have international community who decided for you everything, and we still have the same problems. We don't have national identity. I have national identity, and I'm Bosnian and Herzegovinian, and I love that identity. But inside of the society, we don't have it. We have just ethnic identities. We have 3 languages. We have 3 presidents. We have 3 parliaments. We have everything different here. And when you are born, when you understand what those problems cause, something like rape, and you are born from that and you live in that, it's pretty much strange, but I need to say to you that I am so proud on us, on this association, because we had and we have such a clear methodology of how we speak with society, because when we came out with the stories, we did not put any kind of blame to anyone. We just ask, can anyone explain us? Is there any person who would choose a rape? Can anyone explain us why my mother is guilty because she survived? Why we create a comfort for the rapists, not for survivors? Also, we try to find the spot in which patriarchy is very weak, and that's art. There's the space of freedom that patriarchy cannot win. And everything that we do is art. And first time when I met my body, it was in the docu dance performance called In the Name of the Father. We put everything, all these, prejudice, and we don't use big words. We use like word in the name of the Father. Let's understand what we did and what we built in the name of the Father. And thanks to my friend, my art father, I call him like that, Daryl Toulon, he is theater director from Vienna, and he just came in Bosnia and he was like, let's do some art. And we understand that art, culture, music, rock, pop, theaters was the only thing that kept those people in life. This city, Sarajevo, they survived 1,044, I think, days under the siege, and they find a way how to run away from the snipers and how to go underground and listen to the music and watch the theater performances and make exhibitions. And during this performance in the name of the Father, it was the first time that I allowed to unknown people to touch my body. I am the actresses in that performance. I do my own story. My friend Ivana, she do her own story. She is Peacekeeper Baby with 7 professional actors. And it was the first time where I find a space to clear confusion between me and my mother. And the message of that was, my mother, she knows who is her father, but I don't. And there is differences inside the identity. Anytime when we put some art there, we don't talk about the causes why we are born, because we know that. We talk about responsibilities. How this moment where you didn't ask my mother, who am I, how that changed whole my life. But let's talk how we create this society. And I'm very clear in this, that it was my responsibility to speak up. But the most important question, that everything that children born out of rape survived, it happened in the peacetime, and there is no way that you can blame guns and tanks and grenade. And we were survivors of the peace in Bosnia, not of the war. And using that kind of art, and we give them this perspective.
Did you reach a wide audience with that?
We reached the world. It's game changer. This blue one, Internet Explorer? I was like typing there, children rape, Bosnia, no data. Now you can just Google everything. It's about this topic. Not just to tell our story. We trying to start dialogue, because people really needed to face consequences of war. They really needed to understand that these patterns of everything that we do, it is transgenerational, and we need to be aware of that. And I think that we win it because we got apologized from society. We have huge support in Bosnia, and we became a first country on planet who have legal recognition of the children born out of rape. Now we are recognized, we have space in law, we have space in society. I think that we changed it because we opened the box of traumas, healing trauma process, because after each art piece, it can be exhibition, it can be movie, it can be docu-dance theater, people stay inside of the room and we open dialogue. We sit on the stage, mothers or other children, we have professional psychiatrists, psychologists, historical people. We sit, can we hear your stories? And in that moment you understand that no one also asks society how they feel. Topic of the children born out of war is really connecting point for Bosnia, because in our association we are the part of all ethnic groups, but also our mothers survived from all ethnic groups and from peacekeeper and humanitarian workers. And we really try to not blame anyone, but really to push responsibility. And we push these performances in Sarajevo, in some cities, but also we were in Srebrenica, where genocide happened. We had a full house, multi-ethnic full house, and I think that's something that is really good result.
When was that?
2 years, 2019 we were in Srebrenica.
When was the first performance?
In March 2019. And we had one appointment, and because of the interest of the society, we had to repeat it 3 nights. Also, we raised that question again. Let's talk more about this. We are the consequences of that, but our first question is about our mothers. How you dare to blame her? We were very, very clear that our aim to destroy the comfort zone in which rapists live and living. It's time to create discomfort for us, and it's time to face society, because we created that. You give them that freedom, and you put me in some jail of blame and discrimination, and I didn't rape anyone.
When you talk about taking away the comfort of the rapists, first of all, what is it that you're very concretely trying to achieve? And two, if I try to put myself in your shoes, which I cannot, but I'm trying, it must be absolutely heartbreaking to imagine that this is your biological father. How do you even cope with that, and how do you sort that in your head?
Basically, I know the name, I know everything, but also this country know the name, because 2008 my mother was on court. She gave data, she gave everything, and it's not hard to find people if you know names and everything, but country did not do anything. And the only moment that I am still confused, because I know the name, but I don't have any kind of legal possibilities. The only way that it's up to my mother, and she did her part. Country did not do anything, and it's like there is no possibilities. When it comes to the name, and that's always a tricky question, because every time when I say that I know name, every time is the question, why you don't tell that name, why you hide that name? And that is that's so hard question, because I don't know, is it my duty or my mother's duty? Other part of that is those people and family of those people, they are around my mother in the same city. So I understand that if I say that name, it's safety issue,
for your mother.
And for me on the end, because now I'm public person, I live near the parliament, and everyone knows that it's like not fully safe, and I live alone. And thing for me is that it will be maybe strange, because from the last data that I read, I found out that man, that he has family, that he has children, so which means some step brother, step sister, or whatever, in my case by biological line. And to be honest, I'm not really sure that I can just destroy those lives, because it is, if you say that name, say everything, you have completely innocent people around him whose lives will be changed and destroyed in one. Maybe he is a perfect father, we don't know. And it's moral thing to decide. But still, the biggest question, if it's my duty or my mother's duty, or on the end of the day, it's a country obligation, state obligation to raise that question. Because as a citizen, we did everything. We gave everything, and now it's up to the state. And that's the comfort zone in which they live. It's 3 of us, me, my mother, and state. Someone needs to break that point. But at least if he is alive, or if they are alive, I'm at least satisfied, because I hope that they cannot sleep, because they never know, maybe it can be today or it can be tomorrow morning. It's maybe bad, but I think that I enjoy that they never know when I will be ready or where we will be ready.
Your generosity about their family is really impressive.
It's their family, but on the end of the day, it's human beings who are not guilty for anything, like me, like my mother. And it's not just about survivor family, it's about perpetrator family also, because they didn't rape anyone. and unbelievable how much affects just one act of rape. And we talk about 20 to 50,000 survivors in this country.
How has it been talking about the association, meeting other children who are born in the same situation as you were in? How does it feel? Has that been supporting your process? And what was the most, the thing that you feel really was surprising or that you think is important for us to know?
The association and meeting the members is the most beautiful part of my life. I don't have a word to describe how grateful am I and how that make me stronger, and I don't want to run away anymore. I don't have a reason anymore to run away. I settled in this country. I have brothers, I have sisters. It's not biological line, it's destiny line, and our story, very proud of that. We are based on science. We are not based just on the personal trauma. We are based on the science of trauma, because thanks to Dr. Amra Delic, she gathered us and she did first research on the children born out of war in Bosnia. And she gave us scientific proof, a scientific approach in transgenerational trauma, and she gave us explanation of our identities from this scientific part. And when she decided to gather us, and I remember we were in the circle, we are sitting there, a bunch of unknown people around me. They are there in this room because their life not ideal life like mine. Okay, so we have some connecting point. There is no father in this room. So for that, it's at least good starting point. You don't need to explain that everything that I told in that moment. And I hear Alan, he was next to me, and he is one of the most important persons. And he just told me, I understand you. And I was like, finally you hear that. And it's through your body. And I think it's hope through your body. I'm not alone. I have support. After that moment, we didn't even need to develop everything that we did with the association, but it was like finally. When Ivana told us like she is peacekeeper baby, I was like, can you explain that? And when she explained that, I was like, wow, where is your father? His address, his face, but you can approach them because his state keep him safe.
Can you explain that? Because I don't think anyone knows about that.
During the war, we had peacekeeping missions, and the peacekeeper, by the United Nations regulations, by each country who is member of the UN, they were not allowed to connect or make relationship between peacekeeper and local women, local citizens. And we have a huge problem with that, because we have two cases. We have a peacekeeper who were in relationship with the local women. They got the baby, and they did not recognize those children. They just run away from that responsibility, because if they recognize it, there is some punishment. But also on the 1994, United Nations gave us this Bausoni Commission report, in which is stated that we have 5 different types of rapes. And one of the types is that during the war, we had bordels, like public houses, in which survivors were women. They were sex workers, but not by their will. And most, as was stated in this commission report, most of those services was used by peacekeeper. And also you have those cases, it is public house, but it's not her will there. So dude, it's a rape. As a peacekeeper, you did it, you raped. And also in our association, we have these non-rape cases of the peacekeeping. Mothers who were in kind of relationship, but it was a hell of a fight for those women, because no one understand. She was abandoned, her and her child was abandoned, and there is no any right for these children. And definition of the children born out of war is, if there is no war, there is no children born of war. It's pretty much simple. And when I hear this story of Ivana, and she is now one of my best friends. Her father is in London, and we were together in London last year. And when I see that destroying effect of the young personality, she has cultural identities problem. We have also other friend, and she described her father was humanitarian worker, and then she is part of our exhibition called Breaking Free, and then she needed to describe how she feel, and she said, like, I don't know who am I, what is my culture, Bosnia, Norway, I don't belong to anyone, and he is there. She found her father on Facebook, she found her sister on Facebook, her brother on Facebook, and then I met children whose mothers were in the forced marriages during the war, and I was like, so many levels of war and so many products of war and so many different children of war. And when I tried to understand this forced marriage, because we as a country, we did not recognize forced marriage as a war crime, because we don't have much respect for the United Nations in this country because of all things and genocide and peacekeepers' babies and everything, and that's global opinion. Some other children, they put backpack of this boy on fire and destroy his books because he's United Nations shit. They put his backpack on fire. It's child on the fire because of something. It's trauma. It's not comfortable.
Coming back to mothers and your mother, of course, I mean, it's clear and obvious that you have created a space in which you feel safe. Now, my question to you is there an equal space for those mothers to speak? And does there need to be, from your perspective, another level of healing?
On that question, I can tell that we, as association, we offer to our mothers and survivors different way of dialogue, and that's art. Still, you cannot imagine how much art is inside of this, because speaking out or in the name of the father, it's not just you go there, you meet director or people who lead the process and tell them your story, you write story and you go. No, it's like a month and months and months of preparation and treatments. And I played in the name of the father maybe 15, 16 times, and that's 15 and 16 opportunities. Each time you understand more, and each time you get different questions, and they help you to understand more. Dialogue is a base of healing the trauma, and when it comes to survivors, I will just say, because I don't know what they do on those workshops, as I told you before, but from my perspective, they have this dialogue between them, and definitely it is healing. They share assets, tools, ideas, how to approach something, but also we come back on the crucial and very connected with you and your podcast, and those are invisible wounds of rape. You cannot see it. Society creates so many myths about survivors. Did she has a makeup? They see that kind of physical part of them, but they cannot understand how many wounds are really inside of them and how many pain is inside of them. And I think through the art they get a space and they are more comfortable to explain that, because when they explain who were there before the war, they were human beings. Their life don't start with the rape. Rape is just one part of them. Now with our association, we try to be full ethic and moral in that process. We push them to speak, but not with their face, but with different channels, exhibitions, as performances. And also we try to explain they cannot run away from the youth. They cannot hurt them. Someone who has 15 or 16, they have some prejudice against the women, against sexual violence, but still it is very young people who can be changed and modified, by the personal stories and that kind of approach and lessons. And also I think it's very good that we are now together as a group, as a one package. Mother, children, or survivors who doesn't have children, they are also part of our group. And I think that they are motivated because we are young, We have strength, we have motivation, and we have different tools. We are in different time. And sometimes when we propose something, it's strange for them, like, oh my God, it's not how we can do that. But still, when you approach them with different perspective, they are in, they go. And the biggest surprise for me when we did this advocacy process with them, and when we write the rights that we want for survivors and for children, what we need to change. And in one moment, one survivor told us, like, please write their funeral costs. Like, when I died, state need to pay that. And that was like a reality shock. 3 decades. And they have that on mind. And that was reality shock for me. Like, I just look at my mother, and yesterday she was 31 and now she's 54. And I was like, it's shocking, but it was really motivating for the children, because we push and push and push, because reality is that we don't have much time.
Why do you not have much time?
They're gonna die. That's the problem and reality. Witnesses are dying. Witness of war, witness of everything, of those crimes, they are dying. We have now, my generation, after war generation, we don't know nothing about how happened, where happened. But the fact is that they are dying. They are 50s, 60s, 70s. And if they want to learn English, learn to swim, learn whatever, we need to push that, because there is no much time in that perspective. And they deserve to put rape in the box and open a new box of experience.
So that sort of goes to the question of how to stop the cycle of transmission of trauma, right?
I would say this. First of all, dialogue, but not from the war perspective, but from the responsibility perspective, consequences perspective, but also, giving the space for survivors of war, not just rape. Give a space to them to show that they are not just victims, that they are so many more. And, one part of the country is extreme victimization of the people, other part of the country is there is extreme denying of the crimes, and we fight because of them, who is war criminal, who is victim. But on the end of the day, we forgot victims and survivors of war, and we forgot their lives, and it's strange when you understand that you have society who doesn't respect themselves, and they lock themselves in victim mood. And we are just trying to show that there is much more inside of those people. And we do cooking workshops, decoupage workshops, painting workshops, whatever. We mixed survivors together with the youth, and then they even don't know that they are survivors. They think that they are just regular participants on some program, and on the end of the program they realize that they are survivors.
What about your trauma?
I think it will be always ongoing question, because dealing with the trauma, I'm in that process. So it can be through the art, it can be through the association, advocacy, but personally also I really respect my mental health, and I have psychologists, but also I learned the lesson 2020, for example. Then I got cancer, thyroid cancer. Thanks God I'm good, but when you got thyroid cancer, you know that stress is reaction, not dealing with the trauma that is the result. I removed my thyroid, and now different approach to life on that part, because I felt it, how silence or not healthy ways will destroy me on the end of the day. I was too young to lose one organ. And now I'm trying to talk about this, but still I think, and will be very honest and go back on my tears on the beginning. Now I'm completely aware that I'm born out of rape. And that is what it is. There is no changing of that. But now my story is not anymore my story. It's everyone's story. My body is not anymore my body. It's everyone's body. And it's different feeling. That's the result of going out. For the last few months I feel really anxious about that, because...
In what way?
Sometimes I'm scared of society, because you go out with the story and you always think that, someone will not support you or respect you. And in each new community where you go to talk about this, it's always new possibilities and you don't know how people will react. After the performance, maybe you get good words, maybe you get something else. It's that unpredictable moment. But at least I am completely aware of who am I, and I know my principles, values, and I speak true, but we all know that it's not always enough and that society is always stronger than one person. It's like that. But we will see, and I trying to keep my mental health in good manners, I'm trying to learn, and because knowledge is something that no one can steal from me, because it's easier for me when I learn what can happen and to prepare some backup plans. But now I'm tired of that kind of preparation. I'm going to be crazy in that in everything, like overthinking, and now I'm just trying to believe in society and to solve this trust issue to society.
What about your body and all of that? When we say we take care of our mental health, that's one part, but then you mention your cancer, where you say your body spoke out against the stress. That was a clear reaction from your body. How is your body in all of this?
Yeah, but to be honest, I'm not full responsible to my body. Sometimes I walk, I go to swim, but sometimes I'm so mentally tired that I don't have time for my body, to keep it very healthy. But, I have a dog. He is my savior because I need to walk every single day, 3 times a day. So I think that's good. Yeah, but I think that definitely I should treat better my body, to have a strength to go further with this. I don't want to do this all my life.
So what is your hope for the future, indeed?
I don't know, maybe. I would love to do something with the tourism, I think, in Bosnia. We are a very, very rich country when it comes to nature, and I would love to be there. Yeah, it helps me.
But what is your hope for the association?
Well, hope is that, first of all, we will become a good legal service for the children born out of war in Bosnia. The children can ask for the help service, that they can get a status, have rights, enjoy the benefits of the law that we achieve. Also, internationally, I think that we did good job, but also I wish that association is example of good practices. Ukraine, other countries, they are still facing with the same problem. And I don't know, is it possible, but peacekeepers' babies would and will show us in which kind of system we live politically. And because of that, it's a very deep question and no one wants to talk about it. And I would love to have this opportunity that in my lifetime that I see something change. For example, my mother, she survived from the Croatian army and she know who is there, and she report that. And she built inside of me that it's not about Croatian people, it's about Croatian individuals. And the same I think we should do, because we cannot tell that each peacekeeper is a bad person. No, they don't. They're not.
Anything else you wish to share you think is important that we haven't talked about?
I don't know. I would love to tell to you, again, to myself, to everyone who will listen, that we don't forget that all these patterns of discrimination, violence, it's something that we just transfer to other generations. And I would love that each of us choose one youth person to tell those stories, those consequences, just to be responsible and trying to change that, because let's create snowball, like spreading the word on these questions and trying to support boys more. They can cry, they can be vulnerable, and I think that we really should think more about boys. They really need to be part of these processes, and we need to build them this kind of trust zone between us and males, because we cannot create female planet. We are here, we are all together. We need to delete this fear line between male and females in this moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and it was an absolute honor to have you in this podcast.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, definitely. It's one more healing process, so yeah, we did good job.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Invisible Wound. In our next episode, we will meet Chelsea, whose voice will leave you with a beautiful surprise at the end of the episode. If you're interested in this topic, we invite you to listen to the past seasons. In the first season of this podcast, we focused on the perspective of First Nations Australians and their experiences of collective transgenerational trauma. In the second season, we were talking to trauma experts and artists who shared with us their perspective and understanding of transgenerational trauma. And if you liked what you heard, please consider donating to Amcha. Your donation will go to supporting Holocaust survivors in need and their families. You will find more information in the link below. And don't forget to rate us on Spotify.